Hello, my name is Dante Renee, and welcome to the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more. Like tonight's film, something in my eye, like tonight's film from 1971, this is Made in Sweden. Now, there's no nudity on this cover, but just to be safe, she actually signed it to me at a rare appearance that she did at the Cinema Wasteland convention in around 2008-ish, somewhere around there. And the Christina Lindberg, starring in this film. And this is the back of the DVD. It was put out by Impulse Pictures, which I believe is a subsect of Synapse. And Impulse is kind of like the sexy kind of catalog for Synapse. Impulse puts out the Schoolgirl Report series as well, I believe. And this is one of the very first roles for Christina Lindberg. And I believe in her handful of films, they were all kind of made around the same time, from what I think. Now, I'm going to be looking at all of her, or as many films as I can that aren't talked about enough, because I love them all. But if any are talked about a lot, I won't, like Thriller, I'm not going to do, because that is all over the place, and rightfully so. But I'm going to be looking at some of her other films. I have already looked at Wide Open, so if you want to look for that, that's on this YouTube page. I believe also put out by Impulse Pictures. But her other films, Anita, and she even did Sex and Fury, I believe, which was a Pinky film. Possibly going to be looking at those in the future as well. So let's look at Made in Sweden, because this film from 1971 really defines that subsection, that subgenre within sexploitation of coming of age. And this is a true coming-of-age film. Christina Lindberg is the focal point of this film. Her expressions, her face, her body, her innocence, her vulnerability, and her innocence and her ignorance in this film is a huge piece of the coming-of-age story put out here in this 80-minute film. So let's look at this movie right here, folks. Let's get into it. I'm going to look at the music. I'm going to look at the style. I'm going to look at just the overall vibe and feel of this film, Made in Sweden. Now, first and foremost, if you love Christina Lindberg, if you find her sexually attractive, obviously her breasts, people will always, mention or talk about, and she was a model in Playboy and Penthouse, and I mean, just unbelievable breasts, unbelievable body, unbelievable face and expression, and these kind of doe eyes, and this innocence about her. Now, this is softcore. The film she did was softcore. I remember when I was talking to her when she was signing my films, she was obviously approached to do hardcore, but she was not interested in it. It wasn't something that she ever expressed interest in. Made in Sweden is obviously filmed in Sweden, and it's cold, it's snowy. You see people's breath, you see their heavy jackets. It has a real winter cold vibe about it. One section of the film almost looks like fall, with the leaves in the trees, almost like the film Thriller, A Cruel Picture. And then the rest of the film, there are no leaves on any of the trees at all. It's very barren, very winter-like. You get to see the real thin side streets and the inside of an apartment in Sweden. I don't believe that's a set, the apartment. I believe that's actually a real apartment. And you just get to see the physicality and the architecture and the lack of a shower curtain and the way things go, in Sweden at this time. So the music in this film, it's chock full of music and soundtrack and score, and all of the 60s rock sounding songs in here. Great stuff. Some of it almost sounds Beatle-like. Was all done by one band. I don't believe there's a band name, but in the closing credits you can see the members of the band. And the songs are great. They're catchy. They got great choruses. And I don't know if these were big songs. I don't know if they were big hits. They're all sung in English, by the way, too. And We also have kind of a main theme that runs through the film as well, that kind of is dreamy, a little bit innocent, sexy. It kind of has all those vibes, and you'll hear it a few times in the film, or throughout the film, actually. Lots and lots of music. This is also a film, as I say lots and lots of music, I do say that a lot for, for a lot of films, but this is where Made in Sweden really stands out when I say lots of music. In the area that this is a film of montages. This is a film that loves montages. Awesome, just I've never seen so many montages in one film, and of course the music is being showcased in all of those montages. So great stuff. Stylistically, we have a lot going on here. I will say the opening title sequence to this film is very unique, much longer than a typical opening title sequence. It kind of has an intentional rhythm to it with the actors and actresses' names and how they're displayed and when they're displayed. It just has its own rhythm and timing to it. It's very unique and interesting. And then we also have the usage of slow motion in this film, really two times. Sexually speaking and also violently sexually speaking as well, but both involving water. Just fantastic, especially the one where the water is just the water with her breasts, almost like kind of an ejaculation of water upon her, and it's just unbelievable. If you look up the trailer for Made in Sweden, you'll see one of those scenes that I'm talking about right here. We also have a very interesting thing with the camera, where the camera almost has a violence to it as it turns around. And there's one particular scene where Christina Lindberg and another character who looks like John Mayer to me are riding their bicycles around, and the camera is spinning around almost, it's faster than what they would be seeing, but what they would be seeing at the same time. So there's a violence to the camera as well. And we have distance shots, and we also have close-up shots as well of Christina Lindberg's eyes and expressions in her face. Very important. This is what makes Made in Sweden such an important coming-of-age film, because Christina Lindberg is amazing. She plays that innocence and ignorance. Those are the two things that are very important in this film. Her innocence and ignorance. And the kind of redemption, quote unquote, not everybody would use that word, away from her innocence and ignorance, her morphing and changing and development in through that and in those regards. We very interesting things going on in this film too that are almost surreal to me, where you lose aspect of time and you're not exactly sure what is going on. There is something really near the beginning of the film involving a train, before I believe she actually left on the train. But she's on the train, and then she's thinking of things, or is it just the beginning of the film kind of showcasing elements of the film? It's very bizarre. It's like very surreal. And I was like, wait, what's happening here? What's going on? Did she already leave on the train? Because in the film she takes a journey to her sister's house. But what's happening? And we also have long dream sequences, but we focus on the inside of Christina Lindberg's mind in this film, and things that have happened to her, or maybe not, or maybe just her insecurities, or maybe just a result of innocence and ignorance. I'm not exactly sure, but we do have some darkness in her dream sequence in particular, and it's a long dream sequence, and we have sexual violence in this film, we have rape in this film, we have kind of the element of rape being utilized also as a way to kind of enter into a sexual world, and in a way kind of rape being something that initially is terrifying, but maybe it wasn't the rape, maybe it was just any sexual contact at all being terrifying, and then eventually enjoying it. So we have all those elements here, and we have relationships and broken relationships. We have kind of older people making fun of younger people, making fun of youth, but then at the same time, you know, in a way, kind of putting the youth down below them in their ignorance and innocence, but at the same time, their hunger for their innocence and ignorance, and for their destruction of that, to get rid of that, to move away from it, and their hunger to help them do that, and to taste it at the same time, to embrace, to really take a taste of it. Made in Sweden is, you know, it has romance as well in here, and, you know, shame, exploration, freedom, also captivity. And we also have an amazing masturbation scene in this film. And like I said before, it's softcore. You are getting full nudity from Christina Lindberg. Her butt, you see her bushy vagina, and you see her breasts, of course. But the masturbation scene is done in probably one of the best softcore masturbation scenes I've seen. It is amazing, and just the buildup of it and what it's doing, and mixed with voyeurism, and also mixed with innocence and ignorance. This is 1971's Made in Sweden, starring Christina Lindberg, and it was directed by Flock Johnson, I believe. I don't know if that's a pseudonym. But we also have two characters in this film, Monica Ekman and Krister Ekman. Now, I believe they play a boyfriend and girlfriend in this film. Were they actually married, or were they brother and sister in real life? If anybody has any information on that, please let me know in the comments below. So here it is, folks. Thank you so much for watching the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page, where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more, like 1971's Made in Sweden. Please feel free to check out my own personally made films at youtube.com/poopy diarrhea. That's POOPY diarrhea. Feel free to subscribe there, and you'll see all my new films and my older films as well for free. Thank you so much, and good night.